Well, hello, and welcome to Own Your Divine Light. I'm Janet Miller, and I'm inviting you to listen to the miraculous life of Tom T. Moore, who is an entrepreneur, a channel, an author, a healer, a dream believer, and I just found out he also wanted to be an actor at one time. Tom has created a life of many different dimensions and has brought many miracles to people's lives with his amazing book series, The Gentle Way. Today, you will learn Tom's miraculous ways, all about the MBO, which I'm going to let Tom talk about that, which will change your life. Hi, Tom.
How you doing?
For joining me. I'm doing well. Well, sort of well.
Well, nice to finally speak with you, sort of in person, Janet.
Yeah.
And hello to everyone out there that will see this.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have a great crowd joining us. And I'm so thrilled that you're here, Tom, because I've been a follower of yours for a long time, at least 15 years. And I adore your work. And so I want to start with, you're a man of so many talents, and you're even a pilot, I found out. You even are a pilot. I mean, there's not much, you're the man, the Renaissance man.
Yeah, I guess.
You've challenged yourself throughout your life with so many different career opportunities, and you've been quite successful in so many of them. And of course, I'm a huge fan of you, what you've been doing over the last 15 years, your MBOs. And they're such a help to people, and they've produced so many miracles in my life. And I've shared them with so many people. And people call me and say, wow, look at I can't believe you gave me that prayer, Janet, because who is this person? And so I always credit you. And I've had just so many miracles happen with people. And I haven't written to you about it because there's so many. And the stories I read in your newsletter are so incredible. I'm like, okay, he's got a great bunch of stories there. So, I suppose
we're always looking for more.
I suppose you are. There's one that's a really good one with my friend and her dad who was in the hospital. That was a really interesting one. So, but first I'd like to ask about your unending sense of entrepreneurship. How did you decide to create all these businesses and they turn to gold? What is it about you that makes this happen?
Oh, well, I'm told that I'm an old soul. Mm-hmm. And so I've actually done these things in past lives. So like I've been an actor before. I've been a director of some type of moving images all the way back to Atlantean days. And so all of these seem to be preparing me for this life where I was to reintroduce people to the gentle way.
Ah, that's fantastic. And how do you know how many lives you've had? I mean, you have any idea?
I've been told it's 1,005. And I'm told that I'm one of only 10 people on the planet that have had that many lives. Although, like, as an example, the Dalai Lama is up to like 1,100, I understand. Yeah. So when I was first told that was when I had asked the question to my own guardian angel, Theo. I said, well, how many lives do people have on average on Earth? And he said 600 to 800. And I first said, well, why such a range? And I was told that it was because some souls like to get everything over quickly, and others want to take their time. And so it might be like 610 or 15 or 803, or it's not an exact number. It's however many lives it takes to experience every single thing on Earth. And that's why you'll see some people that I call the drama queens, because they've got something happening all the time in their lives. And it's probably because they're working under a short number of lives. And so I said, well, how many lives have I had? And I was told, 1,005. And I said, gosh, I must be a really slow learner. And I was, no, Tom, you keep coming back to help push people along. At that time, I did not understand. It meant I'm here to help people raise their vibrational levels. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're all trying to do in these lives.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, it's so wonderful that you can know all this about yourself. It's a gift. And I know you're a huge reader, and with that you got started, you were reading the Sedona Journal once, and I guess you had a channeled reading by Robert Shapiro, who I've read quite a bit, and
Yes.
he channels a spiritual being called Zush, and he talked about requesting benevolent outcomes and people, requesting that in their lives. And all of a sudden, I guess you felt it struck a note with you, and you said you tried it out and that it worked the best you'd ever worked anything in any of the modalities you'd ever tried.
Right, because I've tried all these modalities before. I mean, when I first sort of started down the path, I was kind of already, reading lots of spiritual books, but I'd started with astrology because way back in '69, I think it was, or so, there was this astrologer in Dallas, and at that time I had my little tour business, and the astrologer, his hobby was the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys had never been to a Super Bowl at that time, and he said they're not going to go this year, but they're going to go next year, and he said that these are the reasons why. And he gave like 10 reasons. I tore that article out of the newspaper, put it in my desk, and at the end of the football season, I dragged it out, and he had hit on 80%. So, because of my relationship with the airlines already, I reserved 300 seats on Braniff Airlines down to Miami a year in advance. And lots of people were laughing, and I became the first tour operator in Dallas to ever run a trip to the Super Bowl. So I said, I don't know how this astrology works, but I better start studying it. And so I did. And so that was sort of pushing me along the path, you might say.
That is oh my gosh, what a great story. And that you followed that.
And then,
wow, love it.
I'll continue on just to kind of give you a sequence of things. In 1979, well, by the way, that the money I made off of that was enough to kind of start a little travel agency and tour company, and that eventually grew to where we were one of the largest ones in the Southwest, and we had 3,000 travel agents eventually selling our tours to the Cayman Islands and Las Vegas and so on. But that pushed us along. And so in 1979, I started recording my dreams each morning. And 2 weeks after I'd started that, I had a dream of an explosion and a woman and some men involved. And my wife and I were supposed to be going to Manila for a World Congress of Travel Agents. And it was so vivid that we canceled Manila and added days on to Hong Kong and Taipei. And sure enough, on the first day of the Congress, terrorists blew up a bomb at the front of the hall, which is where I kind of like to sit. And after that, I said, I'm going to record my dreams the rest of my life. Well, what that also does is that in that space where you're just waking up and recording dreams, that's sort of the same space that you can receive messages from spirit. And it's really good practice for anyone to do, besides the fact that these are messages from your soul. And even though a lot of them are symbolic, you will, if you read them over, it solidifies in your subconscious, and that helps you to be more successful in life. So that was another thing.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I mean, look at what it did for you, and it saved your life in some ways, right? I mean, that's what came out of it, which was huge. I mean, that you trusted and you believed right away, and that this was the truth to follow, and you just stuck with that.
Yes.
Really. I know dreams are something I don't always remember mine, but I know I should write them down. Occasionally I do, but I have to get in the habit, like you say. I love the idea of journaling. And
you have to put a notebook
yes,
in right by the table by your bed, a pen light, and then I recommend to people, let's see if I can reach it or not. This one is so worn out, but this says The Dreamer's Dictionary by Lady Stern Robinson and Tom Corbett. And I found this is channeled, all these dream symbols are channeled, so I feel like they're closer to the symbology that we get in our dreams. And I also found out that in your dream state, they'll adapt to the dream dictionary if they want you to really know something.
really?
So the dreams sort of adapt there. And I highly recommend it, because if you put say a dream symbol in, like last night, I was traveling, that has a certain symbology. I was pitching a tent, that has symbology. So all these things are, and those are good dream symbols. So something's coming along pretty good. I've had lots of good dream symbols lately, so we'll see what's happening.
Well, I had a very unusual dream in the past 2 weeks, which I'd never had a dream like this. And it was about, I think they were either beavers or they were groundhogs. They were flying over my head. They were just flying and flying over my head. And they were not landing on me. They were landing past me, but there were just so many of them. And I didn't know exactly what that meant, but.
I don't for sure, but I would think there's going to be a lot of people watching these programs of yours. That would be my interpretation.
Oh, good. Oh, thank you. I love that.
Little beavers, little busy beavers.
Oh, I love that. That's great prediction. Thank you, Tom. That really helps. I'm glad I shared that. So I know that you were you had a sort of like a mentor. You kind of helped each other. Dick Stuffins, is that how you say his name?
Dick Stuffins, yes.
2005, and you went to learn about psychic ability and how to improve yours. And
right.
Something incredible.
Yeah. After, of course, in the meantime, I had read that article that Robert Shapiro put into the Sedona Journal of Emergence,
yes.
And that said request benevolent outcomes. And I said, gosh, I think I'll try that. And so I just started playing around with it, and it turned out to be so great. It was better, it's like 100 times better than the law of attraction that a lot of people are into, because you request these benevolent outcomes, and then you release it, and now in my belief system, because I've been told this, your guardian angel knows your whole soul contract, that soul path that you're on, and so if it's within the boundaries of your soul path, then you'll get the request. If it's not, then it won't happen. But something better is on the way that's going to happen. So I found out over and over again not to get so frustrated, even though I and a friend of mine in Paris tried to raise money for a series of spy movies, and I went all over the place: St. Petersburg, Russia, Budapest, Los Angeles for the American film market, Cannes, France, trying to raise money. And each time I would get close, it would fall apart. And finally, I asked Theo, I said, I've been requesting benevolent outcomes all along. Why didn't this happen? And he said, Tom, that's not on your soul contract. He said, you're going to reach a lot more people with your books and speaking and everything than you would ever reach by raising money for a movie. So that's how things work. You just have to trust that it's going to work out.
And I know that's so true, because it's actually relieved a lot of stress in my life, because when I've used it, I've learned to let go, like you said. And once I let go, I just realized if it's going to come through, it'll come through. Like you're saying, exactly what you're saying has been happening. And it's changed my life. It really has changed my life. And anyone I tell about it, I mean, people will call me and say, Janet, will you say one of those MBOs for me? Because they don't want to learn how to say it all the time. So I'll say it all the time. My friends will call before they take a flight. Please say an MBO for me. I mean, constantly I get it. I mean, it's like nonstop. I must say them at least a dozen times a day for myself and for everybody. I use them constantly. I absolutely.
And it's too bad. They should trust, you know, they don't have to go, you know, too many people think that, oh gosh, this can't work. I have to go through my priest or pastor or whatever. Yeah. But you can, these MBOs go directly to your guardian angel, and they're going to work if it's on your soul contract. So I wish people would have the confidence to request these MBOs themselves. They once they get into the habit, they will not ever lose it. So. True.
I'm going to get stronger with my group. And even my husband, he goes, say one of those MBOs for me, will you, while we go look for a parking spot? Or say the MBO that we get to this place on time or something. And I'll say, well, you know, you need to learn this. And he's just, you know, he's a little stubborn. He likes me to do it. So I said, okay, but you
he's not the only one. So
you know. Exactly. So when you connected with Dick, you had something incredible happen there, and I'd love you to tell our audience about that.
Right. Sorry, we got off the track.
No, I love what you went to because I was going to get there. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, I had been to some of Dick Stuffins' seminars, Austin, and someplace else before, and. So he was going to have a seminar for increasing your psychic ability in Sedona. And of course, Sedona is a beautiful place to go anyway. And so it was supposed to be increasing your psychic ability. Well, on about the second day of the seminar, he's a great hypnotist, just one of the very, very best melodic voices that you could ever hear. And on the second day, he was supposed to put us into this altered state, sort of like that dream state I've talked about. And then we were supposed to do automatic writing. Well, instead of doing the automatic writing, when you put us under, I said, I think I'm going to try and talk to Reveals the Mysteries, who Robert Shapiro had channeled for me. And when I'd asked if my soul contract was to support Robert's work, Reveals the Mysteries, who Robert was channeling, said, no, that is not your soul path to support his work. And I said, well, that's strange. And so a couple of years later, I got to ask the question, and Reveals the Mysteries said, Tom, he said, I live in the 1600s, and so do you at this time. You're a shaman. I'm a shaman. Reveals the Mysteries is his name. He said, my name was Stillwater. And he said, you had decided to incarnate into the 20th and 21st centuries to reintroduce people to the gentle way. So I got the name of my first book, the very first time that Reveals the Mysteries ever communicated with me. And anybody ever communicated with me. It was really neat. I said, wow. Yeah. And he told me, he said, you're going to write books. And I said, no, I'm a business guy. I was expecting to retire eventually from the film distribution business. He said, no, books. And so I wrote my first book within 90 days or so.
That's incredible.
That's how the book started.
Wow. And you've written 2 more, and I've given all mine away. Everyone's got my copies now. But
yeah, I've written 5 books now, and I'm working on my 6th.
Oh, you are? You're working on a new one, huh? Yeah. What is that about? Do we have a little hint?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's going to be a short book. It's going to be sort of like a mini book, and it's still going to be on Atlantis and Lemuria. But great. It's where the Atlantis and Lemuria book that I have out right now is very, very detailed.
I love
This
it.
one will just kind of cover the highlights, I hope. It's got to be enough for 50 pages, so I hope I'm going to have enough for 50 pages. The regular book is like 300 or so.
I love your Atlantis and Lemuria book. I absolutely ate that up. I mean, the details that you provided in that, I mean, I've never read a book with all the insights that you have with Atlantis and Lemuria. If people are interested, I highly recommend Tom's book. And it's called Atlantis and Lemuria. It's fabulous. And I mean, it just tells you so much detail that no one's ever heard of. And I love I'm not going to give
it. Very, you know, when I was told it, I started saying, oh, is that why? Because Atlantis, you know, people say, well, where's Atlantis? It must be mythical because it's not anywhere.
Yes.
So maybe it was Santorini or you know, whatever. And in reality, when I was told that here was this continent 10% larger than present day Australia, but it sat right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and there was this line of volcanoes that bisected the whole continent, right on top of the mid-Atlantic ridge, where there was all this pressure from these plates pushing together. And so one day, 31,000 years ago, all the volcanoes blew up at one time, and virtually the whole continent sank. So, and the oceans rose 160 feet, wiping out every single village, town, and city all over the world that were on the coast of the world. And as we all know from just looking at today's maps, most of the major cities and everything are all sitting on the coast of the world.
I know they are, and that's and you've had a few warnings about not being so close to the coast even now from your guides.
Yep. Yes,
I've seen that in your newsletters, and I'm like, oh, so I'm staying away from the seacoast. I mean, I'm far enough away, I think.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I would love to live on it, but you know, whatever's going to happen. But it may not happen in our time. We don't know yet.
Well, and we don't, and the probabilities seem to be raising that there's going to be major earthquakes, and Yellowstone will erupt along with some other volcanoes between 2022 and 2027. These are probabilities. That means that they may happen, but they may not. So I'm letting people know. But if Japan has another huge quake, 8.0 or so, and a tsunami at virtually the same place that had happened before for the 9.0, that's giving you only 2 weeks to get off the West Coast.
Really? Do you have to get out of Colorado too?
No.
Oh, good.
So that'll be okay, with the exception of obviously the ash from Yellowstone.
Right.
But the ash from Yellowstone will mostly go directly to the east and all the way to Chicago, and it will, because the sun will not shine for months and months and months, it will have a mini ice age that will form if that actually happens, because that blast from Yellowstone will be so enormous it'll just black out the sun.
That's incredible. So we don't know what the reasons are. How do we get away from that? Do you have any idea? What's the probability? Did they tell you that, your guides?
Don't live near there.
Just don't live near there. Okay. So anyone in California should leave. Is that what you're saying?
On the West Coast, sure. But all the way from Tijuana through Vancouver.
Washington.
And it all depends. Gaius says that she hasn't decided how strong the earthquakes could be, but they could be so severe that land will drop into the ocean. So, plan for the worst, and if less happens, great.
I know it's hard for people to hear, but it's almost good for them to hear because you just don't know. Nobody really knows. So in a way, you've given them this warning that to be aware when you hear something about this situation in Japan, that this is you're pre-warning them in a lot of ways. So it's a gift.
Yeah.
So I'd look at this as a gift that if you're listening to this and you live in those coastlines or you have someone you care about, Tell them this information. I mean, they may laugh at you, but if it happens, I don't think they'll be laughing. I don't think they'll be, I think they'll take it for, you know, I'll come visit you on the East Coast, or I'll go to the Midwest or somewhere, you know.
Yeah, take a vacation. Rent an RV from a place right next to the ocean and drive east, and
Exactly.
that may be what you'll live in for the next.
Yeah, and get past Chicago, I guess. So that I love all your guides. You have amazing guides, and I know so many miracles have happened in your life connecting to your guides, and some of them come from the future. Can you tell us a little about your guides? And people would love to hear about guides. And
everyone has guides. Everyone has a guardian angel. Mm-hmm. There are like a little over 1 million guardian angels, and they're actually known as and they're called golden light beings because they're such ancient souls that they glow a golden light. But they're really amazing. They have amazing powers, if you wish. My guardian angel, Theo, I call him Theo because he says humans can't pronounce angelic names. And Theo says that he takes care of over 27,000 whole souls. Keep in mind, we're just soul fragments.
Right.
And so he takes care of 27,000 whole souls. And like in my soul cluster or group, some people call it, there are 8 fragments. And so one of those fragments reveals the mysteries. That shaman back from the 1600s. He's my main guide. So typically in a life, you will have as your main guide someone from your soul cluster that knows you well, and is obviously a great connection between you and your soul itself. And then you have guides that come and go in your life depending upon what you're doing. So as an example, in my case, when I was in the tour business, I had 2 guides that helped me with that. When we sold the business in 1981 or 2, they left, and in came a couple of guides that have helped me in my film and TV program distribution business since then. And then when I started writing, I had another 2 guides that showed up to help me with my writing. And I said, oh, is one of them maybe famous or was famous? No, they're just really, really good writers that the kind of writing you do, Tom, is not novels. You just need to write with. So I do my best there. And then my mother in this life is also one of my guides. She's passed on. And she is a guide for all things feminine, because like 75 or 80% of my newsletter subscribers, which I send out a free newsletter each week, 52 weeks a year, and 75 or 80% of the subscribers are women. So those are the guides that I know.
Wow. And how can you have people, how do you tell people to connect with theirs? I mean, how can we help them learn how to connect with their guides?
Well, you really should start with connecting with your own guardian angel. Mm-hmm. You can say out loud, guardian angel, what name shall I call you? Okay. And you may immediately get a name that pops into your head, and that's a name that you can use. Or it may take a couple of weeks, like it did me. Suddenly, a couple of weeks later, Theo bounced in. I found out later that I've called him Theo in many, many lives. So this wasn't the first time that Theo and I have conversed like that. So you can start talking to your guardian angel out loud, because your guardian angel is listening to you every single minute. And when you're requesting these benevolent outcomes, you can request them for the most mundane things. And in fact, I recommend that you do start off to get immediate feedback that this is actually working for you. Mm-hmm. So you request a benevolent outcome for your drive to work. and maybe as you're driving along, suddenly there's a wreck. And this has happened twice to me, right in front of you, but you were able to avoid the wreck. Or maybe you're, like I had one lady that was on a bus, and she was on vacation, and they were coming up to the Space Needle in Seattle, and the bus driver wasn't paying attention. He was looking more at the bus stop than ahead of him, and he almost ran into a truck. And he slammed on his brakes. Everybody went, forward like this. And she was able to joke with him, well, and not be upset or afraid. But everybody was safe because of this sort of radiant effect that benevolent outcomes have, that it's like a bubble around your car or a bubble around that bus, and you can request for a seat on a bus or a subway in the morning. One day, this friend of mine in Paris, he lives in Paris full time, we had to go to a meeting across town, and we had to take something like 3 or 4 different subways to get there. And I said, well, let me show you about MBO. So I requested an MBO to get a seat on every single subway. And this is morning what we call drive time, where everyone is going to work. And I got a seat every single time across. And he said, oh, that's just a coincidence. So anyway, it works marvelously. It works amazingly. It'll keep you out of danger. You can request it for things like, my family and I were on a cruise ship, and they had a coverall on the bingo the last day on the cruise, and I won half of an $8,400 pot.
Wow.
On bingo on that cruise, and it was enough for that and 50% off the cruise, because one of the decks that had a leak, that we took the cruise again the next year. So
wow.
it's
so can you say it out loud for people to hear how you say the MBO? Like, just, I know you said it in the beginning very quickly, but I don't know if everyone heard it.
I request a most benevolent outcome for blank, blank, blank. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Or I request a most benevolent outcome for my drive to work today. Thank you. And I request a most benevolent outcome for my drive from work to Kroger's. And at Kroger's, I request a most benevolent outcome for finding all the things I need. Just mundane requests. And like when I'm in the grocery store, if I'm having trouble finding something, suddenly, there's one of the store employees that's right on my aisle. Oh, here it is, right here, sir. So it makes things easier. Life gets easier when you start requesting benevolent outcomes. You still have the challenges,
sure.
But it's like Theo describes it as, if you're not requesting benevolent outcomes, it's like having to climb a brick wall in the middle of the road. And that by requesting a benevolent outcome, it turns it into a big speed bump. So you still have the challenges. It just lessens the challenge.
Mm-hmm. And I say mine a little differently. I guess it's because you had different types on your website like years ago. You've made it really simple now. I sort of say a longer version, like all beings of light who are in service to me, I'm asking for the most benevolent outcome to whatever it is. And then I say, if this is for my, if this is, what is it? All beings
highest and best good. A lot of people.
Yes, I put that in that too.
Yeah,
but
and that's okay. Keep in mind, when I started doing all this, I was just kind of throwing phrases around. And I first said benevolent outcome, but when I tried to abbreviate it, it was BO. That didn't sound too good. So I added MBO, the most benevolent outcome. And I didn't used to say thank you, but all these great things were happening. I had to start saying thank you. Oh my goodness, this is so great. And so you can say it your own way. It's just I made it so easy that it's easy for it to pop into your brain every time, and able to start off the phrase. So, I request the most benevolent outcome for. And then, for other people, in my book 1, in the General Way book 1, I was saying living prayer. And And but in book 2, I changed that to make it really simple. I ask any and all beings to blank blank blank. When you do benevolent prayers, as I now call them, this goes to a different set of angels. First of all, that respond to all prayers on earth. It's just that some people don't understand why their prayers are not answered. It's because it's not on your soul path. And pardon me just a second.
No problem.
So there we go. So when you say a prayer for other people, other beings, the planet, whatever it is, if it's not specifically for you, you say, I ask any and all beings to. Okay. And again, I made it so simple. I ask any and all beings to aid and assist the administration, the representatives and Senate and courts to make decisions in the best interest of the people of the United States, the people of the world, and the planet. Thank you. So this is one I've been having people say recently.
I've been saying it. Absolutely. So I know you have a free gift, something special you're offering to people. So I just want to give you a couple minutes to talk about it. If there's anything, that you'd like to share about it.
Okay. I'm not sure how we'll work this. I believe there's going to be a URL address, and it'll take you. And I have a benevolent prayer that I say every single morning, and I say, I ask any all beings to, and I'm going from memory here, so it may not be exact. Ask any all beings to aid, comfort all the people that I've ever harmed in any past, present, or future lives, and ask any and all beings to aid and comfort the families and friends of anyone that I've ever hurt in any way, any past, present, or future life. Thank you. I left out a little bit, so you'll get the whole thing when you see it. And it's, you can print out the sign and put it up so that you'll start saying it. And Theo tells me this is one of the greatest things that you could do for all your lives. And I said, well, have I ever said this prayer in any other lives? And I was told, no, this is the very first one that you've ever made that connection. So that's how important it is to say.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That is beautiful. And I know you talk about how saying the most benevolent outcome prayer, that you raise your vibration and that it changes you. It makes your life better. It moves you up. I mean, I know we could talk about ascension, but we don't have a lot of time left. But I just wanted to put that in there, that how it moves you up in vibration. It changes your life in so many ways that if you don't take advantage of it, it's so simple and it's so wonderful. I mean,
right. People keep saying, oh, it can't be this easy. I've been told to do all these different, acts and whatever. And, but Theo says this is absolutely the simplest thing that you can do. First of all, it keeps you on your soul path. Mm-hmm. You request benevolent outcomes every day, and it keeps you on the soul path. And the soul path is what you wanted to do in this life, for the most challenges, the most successes, the best life that you possibly have. So you want to stay on your soul contract. People say, oh, I want free will. You have free will. You can, as Theo calls it humorously, he says, you can go off the reservation. Okay, wander off the reservation. But the best thing is to stay on your path. And requesting benevolent outcomes will keep you on your path, just as it did me when I tried to get off the path and go raise money for movies. So that's one of the things, and it does raise your vibrational level every little bit, and especially when you're saying benevolent prayers for other people, other beings, animals, whatever. You're showing compassion, and compassion, excuse me, raises your vibrational level.
Yes, and that's so important today in our world that's changing, and we want to create this wonderful world, and we're working to create, community and changing and changing into a loving community, which I think people are getting more and more loving towards each other, no matter what's going on. You can hear different things, but I think we are moving into the most wonderful energies. I mean, all these gifts are given to us, so you have a choice. You can choose to do it or not, and that'll change your life. So I really want to thank you so much, Tom, for being such a brilliant light for humanity, and for coming back so many times and helping us and being willing to show us the new ways and simple ways like this gorgeous miracle of bringing the most benevolent outcome prayer to us. It's a gift, and it's one that I totally treasure, and I use it, as I said, all the time, constantly. It makes my life better, and my life is on another new path. So I say it every time I do a show. I just love it, and it's at the end of all my and I say it every day. That's all I can say. So I would love our audience to write in, and there's his books. Oh, there's Tom.
I'll show them.
Yeah, I would love you to show it. The Gentle Way is his first book. Yep, it's wonderful.
And go to my website to sign up for my weekly newsletter if you'd like. It's www.thegentleWaybook.com. Mm-hmm. And not only do I have all my newsletters archived on the website all the way back to 2007.
Yes, you do.
But I also have, if you can click on blog, and every Saturday I have around 4 or 5 stories that are sent in to me from people from all over the world telling me their stories of success in using the Gentle Way.
Okay, thank you. And I know, and you have 2 other books with the Gentle Way series, and then you have the Atlantis and Lemurian book, and the First Contact, which is, I just got your First Contact book.
Oh, okay.
I haven't read that yet, and I'm like chomping at the bit to get to that book. I really want to read it, because it's all about meeting Anshura, who we didn't get to talk about yet. But I love hearing about him, and we'll do that maybe another time, another show. And again, thank you so much. I'd love our audience to write in and say how much they love Tom, and I hope you try those MBOs, because it's so important to changing your life. And Tom, you are such a beacon of showing how to own your own divine light and helping others and millions of people to step into achieving their dreams with this simple prayer. And we're all about helping them unlock their passions and stepping into their authenticity and finally creating the life you love when you own your divine light. So thank you, Tom. I'm Janet Miller, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.